also do various, right? So previously I told you guys about my editing program not being able to work, so I fixed the glitch. I was able to fix the thing that was wrong with my editing program, so everything is back in order. And as always, before we start, I need you guys to sit down, grab some tea. Right now I'm drinking some black pico tea, the normal Lipton tea, and I just warmed it up. It's afternoon and I just want you guys to sit and relax and just enjoy the session as usual, right? Okay, so for today's session, the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is grief and loss, right? Grief and loss. Because I know a lot of you guys, you're not immune to grief and loss, you know? You're not immune to grief and loss. Like, as long as you anyone's been living, you guys had a situation where you lost someone, or you maybe lost a pet or something that was extremely important to you, you know, passed away, you know? So I want to address this in this session, and then depending on how it goes, I think I might go into a lot of other topics, right? So this won't be like a normal Bible session if it goes as planned, right? Okay, so for today's video, and I think this one might be really extended, right? Because it's been a while since I've seen you guys, and I want to make sure I talk to you guys because it's been a while, right? It's been a long time since I've been able to touch that editing program, so then I have to pay you guys back for being patient by giving you an extended session, right? So then the thing is, so yesterday I was preparing a video to release it and stuff like that, and then the topics I wanted to discuss was friendship, female friendships, Pride and Prejudice, some parts of Titanic, and I was gonna do a whole bunch of topics, right? I was gonna do a whole bunch of topics, but then as I was doing the thing yesterday, it was like I couldn't get my footing, right? I couldn't get my footing anyway when I was doing that video. And at first I thought it was because, you know, it was kind of hot, so I went and opened the window and stuff like that. But then this morning, you know, I woke up and I felt like something was off, right? I felt like something was off with me, right? So then and then I was thinking, okay, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling off, right? And it was like this feeling I couldn't really put I couldn't really put a hand on what was wrong with me, right? So then it hit me because I kept seeing flowers everywhere, right? And I was like, oh, okay, Mother's Day is coming up, right? And then after that, Haitian Mother's Day is coming up like the 3rd Sunday, I believe. And then around this time, my mom's birthday is coming in the 7th, which will be I think the end of this week. So today's the 2nd. So it'll be like by around Friday, right? So then this whole yesterday I'm doing that video and I'm trying to get my footing in the video and I can't get anywhere in the video, right? And that's not really ever happened to me usually when I'm doing my videos. Usually I just set up my stuff and I'm already talking and I'm happy to say everything, right? But I'm telling you, I could not get my footing. And at first I thought it was because I was nauseous because my lights were hot and it was hot outside. So I opened the window and I could not get what I was about to say at all, right? So this morning I was thinking about, okay, something's off, right? What's wrong? There's something that's off. And then I realized Mother's Day is coming up, right? That's why I kept seeing a whole bunch of flowers, but I wasn't really keeping track of it. Because usually Mother's Day is like a huge holiday in our family and stuff like that. We always make sure to celebrate it with our mom. But I would just keep seeing flowers everywhere, and I'm like, okay, it didn't dawn on me that's what it was, right? And then, but what really brought it home was that I realized it was May 2nd today, and my mom's birthday is usually May 7th, and then Mother's Day will come American Mother's Day, and then the third Sunday will be Haitian Mother's Day, and we'll celebrate both, because both are these 3 dates are very important in our family, right? But this year I was just passing by, I see a bunch of flowers, and I didn't even take into consideration what was going on, right? But it didn't even cross my mind that Mother's Day was what was going on. So then I'm telling you, this whole morning everything is off, and I'm like, what's going on with me? Why am I feeling this way, right? And I'm telling you, so in this video we're gonna go into grief and loss, and I realized that's what's wrong. That's what was going on. I was just feeling like an empty hole, right? So then I'm gonna read to you guys the thing about the death of Lazarus, right? I know some of you don't even know what the death of Lazarus is, because some of you are not Christian, but I'm gonna fill you guys in, and today's gonna be a relaxed Bible session. So one thing I decided to do when doing Bible sessions is I want to make it as accessible to you guys as possible, but towards the end I will be giving you a chance to say the Lord's Prayer, right? Because this is my YouTube video and I think that's important. But also, this being my YouTube video, I also think it's important to make the Bible accessible to you guys, right? So I'm gonna go to topics I usually go in my other videos, and I'm gonna make it really accessible to you guys, right? Because I don't want it to be like something where it's like I'm talking about Jesus and then it's going right over your head, and I'm speaking Christian speak, I'm speaking Christianese, and it's just going right over your head, right? I don't want to be like that type of Christian that makes people feel unwelcome, right? And it's just my thing, right? I don't believe in like overwhelming people and beating them with that. That's not my thing, right? I don't believe in stuff like that, right? So then I'm gonna read the portion of the Bible that says, Jesus comforts the sisters of Lazarus. Okay, so in John 11 verse 17 through, we're gonna read John 17, and we're gonna read up to 35 where it says Jesus wept, right? Because that's what I really want to focus on, that Jesus wept. Okay, so on his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in their loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him. But Mary stayed at home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered her, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she replied. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world. After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. The teacher is here, she said, and is asking for you. When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went, they followed her, supposing she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved, right? In spirit and troubled. Where have you laid him? He asked. Come and see, Lord, they replied. And verse 35 says, Jesus wept. No, verse 36 goes on to say, then the Jews said, see how he loved him, right? So in this scripture, Lazarus is Jesus' friend, right? And Mary and Martha are Lazarus' sister, and Lazarus dies, right? So then what ended up happening is they keep calling for Jesus to come. They keep calling him for him to come. And then he waits 3 days on purpose to come get Lazarus, right? to come and see Lazarus, right? By this time he's dead like 3 days. And I've heard that in the Jewish tradition, the third day when the person is dead, that means it's over. It's like there's a significance for them dying in 3 days. That means there's something that means they're fully dead, right? It's like they're fully passed on, I believe. So then in the scripture, we see that Jesus goes after the third day to go and see Mary and Martha, the sisters of Lazarus, who is his good friend. And then what ended up happening is they're saying, oh God, we wish you had come, we sent for you. And they start crying. They're like, oh, and then he's like, oh, do you believe I could raise him from that, he will live again, right? And they're like, yeah, we know that in the end he's gonna live again and stuff like that, right? And then they go on to say, oh, but he died, we wish you would have been here. And it goes on to say that when Jesus saw that she was crying, somehow her crying, it got to him, right? And he began to cry himself. And that's what verse 35 says, Jesus wept, he cried, right? So then I'm gonna work on that, right? And I'll see if I could add more topics, but then I think that would be good, right? So then this thing will be on grief and loss, right? So I know a lot of people, they've been through grief and loss, just like Mary and Martha, who lost their brother. But a lot of times people don't understand that death is not final, right? There's a whole other spiritual realm where, you know, your loved ones are, right? And you will meet them in the last day, just like Martha and Mary knew, right? But what was funny about the situation is like Jesus knows this, right? He knows that Lazarus is there's a spirit realm where he is. And you know the story of Lazarus. Everyone knows Jesus is gonna raise Lazarus from the dead, right? Even he knows he's gonna raise him from the dead, right? But when he sees Martha and Mary, how hurt they are, the anguish that they're feeling, he starts crying. He begins to cry himself, you know. He's moved himself, and he knows in the next scripture he's gonna raise Lazarus from the dead, right? So I know a lot of people, when they think about a God and Jesus, and they think, oh, okay, he's just this deity that's sitting on his throne and he doesn't feel anything, right? He knows everything from the beginning. That means he doesn't know anything. He knows the beginning from the end, so nothing affects him, right? Where you're in pain because somebody died in your life, or someone passed on, or you lost your dog, or like your grandma died. It's like he already knows that you're gonna meet them, so he doesn't feel your pain, right? And this scripture, it proves different, right? Because when he saw how he knew that he was gonna raise him in the next script, in the next passage following, right? But they didn't know that, right? They didn't know that. For them, that's impossible, right? And because for them it's impossible, it touches him, because it's like they think they're never gonna see Lazarus until, you know, it's their time to go, you know. And I just want to tell you guys, whoever lost somebody in any way, or like a pet or something, and you guys are grieving, I want to tell you your grief is valid. And as you know, I want to tell you your pain is valid. I want to tell you that whatever you're going through, it's valid, right? And the same way it's valid in God's eyes too, right? Like, God is not this monster most people want to say, oh, he knows the beginning from the end, you know. That means nothing we go through never touches him, right? You know, sometimes, like, I would just liken it to, like, you are like a grown adult and you have a 5-year-old, and the 5-year-old has like I don't know, like a baby, a puppy or something, right? And the puppy died or something, right? And it's a 5-year-old, and you know it could get another puppy, and it's gonna be able to get over the situation after a while. But if you see your 5-year-old crying, I mean, any parent, unless like you have like psychopathic tendencies, would be moved by what the child is doing, because the child is crying because the pet goldfish or the pet dog Rover died, right? Because Rover died, right? even to you, it's like, oh, you know, like you could get another pet, and you know eventually after a few years he'll be just as happy when you get over like a year or two and you get him a brand new puppy. But you know that whatever your 5-year-old is going through, it's valid, right? The 5-year-old's puppy died, and you know, even though he's gonna get over it because he's only 5, he will eventually get over it. You know it affects him, and because it hits him, it hits you the same way, right? So liken it into that same way, right? Liken it onto that same way with God, right? God is not this person, oh, I know he's sitting on his throne and he's like, oh, I know the end from the beginning, you know? So that means everything they go through when they lose somebody, when they go through a setback, I don't feel it because I already know the end from the beginning, right? God is not like that, right? He's a God where he feels what you're feeling at the moment that you're feeling it, right? That's like one reason I see, like I was reading this person was saying something. He's like, you know, God doesn't take pleasure in evil, right? And it's true. He doesn't take pleasure in evil doing, and he doesn't take pleasure in his children going through pain, right? But this is just the way this situation, this human condition is. This is what this life is about, right? So then go back to what I was saying about my mom and stuff. So, you know, she passed away and stuff. And at first, you know, it does affect me in like a way, but I got off lucky, right? It just hit me in certain times when I'm not thinking about it, right? When I'm thinking something is not affecting me, and then something will trigger it, and then I'll just be thinking about her, and it hit me in a way. It hit me hard, right? So then, like my mom, she had this nerve condition, right? She had it even before I was born. And if you see the fairy's funeral that we did, I believe in January 8th, I believe that was, you'll see it on the fairy's website. It's on my link on my Facebook. You'll see her sister Teresa, my aunt, the baby aunt, the young aunt. She says that my mom, when she was 29, she was at the point of death, right? And then I think she was speaking Creole, so I'll translate what she said so you understand. So the young aunt, the young one, Teresa, she was saying how, I believe she was 11, because my aunt's much younger. She's the youngest one of all of them, and she's very young when that happened to my mom, who I believe was 29 at that age, right? So my mom, my aunt was 11. Yeah, she was 11, and something happened where I don't know what happened. Like, I have to go over and now I'll review everything, where it was like something happened and my mom she was gonna die or something, right? And then my aunt, she went into a room and she prayed to God, and she said, God, I'm only 11 years old, you know, if my sister dies, my mom, if my sister dies, I know that my mother, which is my grandmother Marie, she will die, right? Because my grandmother and my mom, they're like two peas in the pod, and she knew if my mom passed away, because she was the oldest of all of them, it would affect her mom in a way where her grandma would always also die, right? So she prayed to God, and she asked God, you know, please spare my sister, right? And she said they thought that my mom was going to die because they couldn't wake her up, something like that, right? I'll go over everything in the description. And then my uncles, her sisters they were all like frantic. They're all saying she's dead already, and they lost hope. My uncles, the uncle that didn't die yet, they're just, because they all were close. My mom's brothers and sisters, they're very close, right? Even her cousins, they're very close, right? We come from a big family where we are extremely close, right? So in that fairy's funeral, she says the brothers they're all like, their hands are on their heads, and they're saying, God, please spare our sister, because they think she's going to die, right? Because she was always sick and stuff, right? So then my aunt, the young one, the baby one, Teresa, she was 11 at this time, and she was saying in her heart, God, please don't let my sister die, because that's the oldest sister of the whole family of my grandma and and my grandparents' side. And she said if my mom dies, my grandmother, her mother, will die too, because they're intimately together. Their souls are like tied together, I believe. Yeah, and even today I would say that too, right? And when she said, well, after she finished praying that, she said in her heart she had such faith and conviction that when she went to go and see, okay, what they were going to say about her mom, they saw that mom had recovered and she had made a full turnaround, right? And all I have to say is my aunts, all of them, my aunts on my cousin's side, my aunts on my dad, the way that they came through for the funeral, it was above and beyond, right? The support from everybody that I got, my church family, everyone was above and beyond, right? Like, you know, but the situation is such that that's still my mom, right? And sometimes it's like, I'm lucky because I know some people, they would have been like clinically depressed right after, and they would be depressed for a long time. But for me, it's like things will be fine most times, right? But it'll just be one thing and it'll just trigger something. Like I'll see something that she used to love and it'll just hit me that, damn, you know, she's not here, right? And that triggers me really deep, right? It'll just be something like something she used to fuss over, like the type of food and then I'll just start thinking about it and it just hit me like in a way, and I'll be like, it gets to me, right? So that's how it affects me, right? But I know a lot of you probably go through it in different ways, right? So what I would recommend is therapy is something you want to get into. And you know, I'm a person, I like to not feel like certain things, or not to indulge in like too much like deep emotion, because I just don't do well with that. I'm a hands-off stoic type of person in that sense. But when my mom died, I was not even gonna play that game with myself, right? I let myself grieve, but I would grieve in short bursts. When what happened, I would let myself grieve, right? It's very healthy that you let your emotions run, right? You must feel the emotions as they're coming, even like short bursts. You could do it like through therapy, or you talking to a licensed professional. You could even write it down in your journal, which is very helpful for me, right? But whatever way you find to help you get through it, you know, you're gonna get through this, right? Definitely, right? And I know some people, whenever it's the anniversary of the person's death, it be hitting them, right? But I just didn't understand why I was feeling kind of off the past days. And then it was like, I just kept seeing flowers, and usually every year, Mother's Day, Haitian Mother's Day, which is the third Sunday of that May, and then you have her birthday, which is on the 7th. Those 3 holidays, it's like they're very main holidays in our families, right? We celebrate her birthday, those 2 Mother's Days very deeply, right? We always have a celebration. But I just kept seeing the flowers, and it didn't hit me that was what it was. And then May 2nd came out. I'm like, oh my God, that's her birthday's coming up, and I just kept feeling off about the whole situation, right? And it hit me. That's what happened. I'm burying the emotion, because trust and believe, it's been like that for years. If this holiday is coming out, it's a big deal to me, my sister, and the whole family, for every woman in the family, right? So when I tell you I'm just seeing these flowers and it's not hitting me why they're there, and then I just keep hearing people say Mother's Day, it was like I was in zombie mode, like zombification mode, right? Because I was just not processing why those flowers were there, right? And that the flowers being there is, we usually look for Mother's Day, right? Like weeks in advance, we're looking on what cake we're gonna get and stuff like that. So it was like, it's like a big deal. It's like Thanksgiving and Christmas basically in our family, right? So when I told you I'm looking at the flowers, I'm seeing the vendors with the flowers, and it's not hitting me what is going on. It was like a protection mechanism, right? I just didn't want to understand that Mother's Day was coming up, right? And this morning I woke up, I was feeling off like the whole day, right? And then it just kept bothering me that, damn it, you know, my mom isn't here, right? So I want to tell you, especially those people who lost their parents I don't know how it is when you lose your parents several years. I don't know how that feels like. All I have to tell you guys is, you know, parents are very important. And if you have your mom, you know, or whoever you lost, if it's a grandparent or whoever it was, I want to tell you guys that your grief is valid, and you know, you're not alone, right? You're not alone in whatever you're going through, right? You are not alone in whatever you're going through, right? So then let me go deeper into the situation. I just want to keep adding more because I just want to just pay respects to my mom's memory, because this whole week I've just been in like a daze kind of, because I didn't really even realize it was Mother's Day, and this is a very significant holiday. I'm just seeing the flowers and it's not triggering, it's not hitting me that that's what's going on. It's like I blocked it out, right? Because usually like weeks we've been thinking, oh, Mother's Day is coming up, we need to do the cake, we need to do the celebration, we need to do the party, we need to do this and that, we need to get the gift, and it just passed by now, and I'm not, it's not connecting that that's what it is. And it's like that for a reason, because it's my psyche's protection mechanism of what happened, right? And all I know is I woke up on the wrong side today, right? I was not feeling good the whole day, right? So then what I have to say is, as I said in that introduction video, with us three, my mom, my sister, and me, it's like we're like three peas in a pod, right? And to what I said about my mom and my grandmother being like connected completely, my aunt was really smart when she was 11. She tapped into that and she prayed to God like that, right? Because it's what she said is the truth. It's the God's the honest truth, that usually the firstborn and the mother, I don't know what it is, but they're intimately connected, right? And it could not be more true for my mom and my grandmother, right? Because you know what happened is my grandmother passed like 6 months before, and then like a few months, 6 months, my mom went, right? But what you don't know is that my mom, she had a dream that my grandmother, she dreamed of my grandmother, and my grandmother was talking to her, and she was saying, she was talking to her, and I knew when she was about to pass that she was going to go, because my grandmother paid her a visit, and the way it happened, it was like I knew she was gonna go, but I just didn't know when it was gonna happen, right? Because I don't know, like the way she said the vision was, it was like I was like, this means she's gonna pass, right? And I knew it the whole time. I just didn't know when it was gonna happen. So I just kept trying to keep trying to move fast, because I'm like, she's going to pass, I know it, and I just don't know when it's gonna happen. So I'm just making haste to make sure like I do what I need to do, so it happens, right? And all I have to tell you is, for you people that have terminally ill parents, I don't know how it is for you guys, but usually the whole situation of them being ill is hard. And I want to say that the death is hard, but in a way it's a relief also, right? It's a relief because you know they're not gonna be in that condition anymore, they're not gonna be suffering anymore. But also it's very hard, right? Because it's like, it's so final. It's like you're not gonna see them until you pass on, right? Until it's your time to go, right? And the whole situation is troubling me, not because of how it ended, right? Because all I have to tell you, the way it ended, it was good, right? But the thing is, like, it's so final for me, right? So let me tell you what happened. So Christmas Day, we're making preparations, and I don't know what it is, something about Christmas Day and then Christmas Eve, I'm just running like that Friday. I'm running like a chicken with its head cut off, right? I'm running like a chicken with its, and I don't know what it's going on with me, but all I know is she doesn't have that much time to go, and I don't know what it is about me. Like, first thing is, the Christmas tree, the decorations. Something about this, I don't know what, something is telling me I need to get the decorations, because the year before, because we had just moved to this apartment, we didn't get the decorations. Something saying, oh, you need to make this Christmas special, right? I just kept getting convicted with that, right? So I bought the Christmas tree, and I was like, I'm like, is the Christmas tree that important? It's not that important. But something told me, just stay on the line and make sure you get the damn Christmas tree, right? So I got the Christmas tree, and I got the curtains, I got everything, because I was like, I just want to make it special and everything, right? So then I got everything, and then that Friday I did the whole dinner, the whole Thanksgiving, I mean the whole like Christmas dinner, the chicken, everything, all the sides and everything. And then she said something about, oh, aren't you gonna do the lasagna? And like there was something I was supposed to do, like stuffing. I said, you're not gonna do that. And you know, my mom, she's always somebody, she's never, enough is never enough for her, right? She's annoying like that, right? So at first I was gonna get annoyed, but I don't know why. So I went to the store and I bought the lasagna, and I made sure I made it the way she wanted. I made the stuffing just how she liked it, right? I don't know why this stupid stuff was important. Usually, like last year, wouldn't been that important, but something is telling me you need to do it, right? And I just keep following that intuition that I need to do it, right? So then that Christmas day, she ate the food. My mom was so happy. She was very happy. And then she's like, oh, she was like, oh, you finally, you know how Haitian moms, for them to tell you that you're cooking thing, it's like, it's like you need to crucify them first in order for them to admit that your food is good, right? So she's like, you know, it's passing, you know, it's passing, but she's eating the whole food, which means it's good, you know. She just can't admit that I'm just as good a cook as her, right? So then the thing is going on, and then that morning my cousin from Philadelphia comes, and we do the pictures, and you know, and you know, my aunts, they're always there for my mom and stuff, right? Like especially the younger one and the middle aunt, they're there for my mom, hook, like line and sinker. The whole family is just, they're always there for my mom, right? So then then my cousins come, they take pictures. Like I don't know what it was, but I don't even know she was gonna die the next morning. I just knew that her time, she doesn't have that much time left, and something's giving me an urgency. I don't know where this urgency is coming from, right? So then that night, it's Christmas night, my sister comes in and she's like, oh, okay, I have a gift for mom, you know. And she's like, oh, I was gonna skip giving her the gift, but I don't know, it's Christmas, I need to come and give her the gift, right? So she gives me my bracelet, and then she puts her bracelet on, and she gives my mom her bracelet, right? And my mom's saying, oh, you know, oh, I don't want the bracelet to get ruined when I get washes the next morning and stuff. I want to make sure, like, you know, it doesn't get messed up, because it's like a really nice, it's really a nice bracelet, right? It's like this really nice type of bracelet she bought. And then my sister leaves, and my mom's just laughing. We're all three laughing. My sister goes off to work, right? So that night, it's like it's the whole night, you know, she's watching TV, because my mom, she never sleeps. That's what she was, right? She's just any little feather, she doesn't sleep. You could wake her up just by like the wind passing by her ear the wrong way, which is extremely annoying, right? So then it's 3:40, and then I put the program on, because the way I put the program, it's gonna run 8 hours straight, so that she could make it through the night, and she could keep hearing the sound, right? Because I don't know, she likes hearing music at all hours of the day. That's what my mom wants. She loves music, and she loves like watch the TV running, because the TV running in the background is very soothing, like most people, right? So then 3:40, I'm saying, okay mom, I'll see you tomorrow, and the last word I hear from my mom is okay, well then okay. How she said "en ben okay." "En ben okay" means well then okay in Creole, right? So I went, I told mom, I finished programming the TV and everything. It'll run for 8 hours, right? So again, I told her, mom, programme télévision, the thing is gonna run pour toute nuit, and you have it for the whole night. And she says, "En ben okay," right? Which means well then okay. So that's the last word I hear from my mom, right? It's 3:40 at night. I go to sleep. I wake up, and the home attendant is seeing, and she's like, your mom is cold, she's not moving. She says my mom isn't moving. And I don't get what she means that she's not moving. She tells me that my mom is not moving, right? And so then I go and I'm like, okay, usually she sleeps. Sometimes when she sleeps, you can't hear it. And I'm slapping her like I'm actually getting violent. I'm shaking her to wake up. And she's not moving, right? So I call the cops. And they come. And they take one look at her, and the way her jaw has set in, like she's dead, right? I don't know, like when you hear something like that, right? And your mom, it was odd. The whole situation was a weird situation, right? It was a weird situation, right? They say she's dead, and I'm like, man, what are you talking about, right? Because imagine, to me, and to most people, right, especially when you have a good mom, it's like mom, your mom is like God, and mom is like the equivalent, or in your dad sometimes too. Yeah, they're both, but usually mom, she's like the human version of God to you, right? Because you know how when you come out of the womb, the first person the doctor, due to protocol, they have to show you is your mom. So imagine the first person you see is your mom. She's like basically the human version of God to you, right? And then there's your dad, of course, you know, if you have both parents. And then they tell me my mom's dead, right? I don't know how, but it didn't process to me, right? So the whole time, I'm like, man, what do you mean? And then they just say like she's dead because the way the rigor mortis has set in her jaw, they can't even do CPR or any breathing techniques, because it's like it's useless. Her jaw has set in, which means she's dead like several hours. This means she just passed on, right? So then, let me tell you, the whole situation was shocking, right? It was shocking on a whole new different level, right? Because I'm like, I just finished talking to her. I just told her goodbye. And she says, okay, I'll see you in the morning, right? I don't think anybody knows how much that bothers you. When you say, okay, I'll see you, the person says, she says, okay. She looks normal, and then morning she's dead, right? The whole time, like hours are passing, I'm trying to get them to do CPR, because I don't believe that what they're saying is right? And then I'll start yelling obscenities at the cops. But you know, the cops, the firefighters, they're very understanding, because you know they go through this a lot, I believe. They go through this and they're like, oh man, we understand. I mean, to them, they must have known, you know, it's just me in shock. But it's hours has passed. There's no way she's alive, right? I want them to do CPR. I'm like, she's breathing. You have to get her back up. And I'm just frantic, right? So then my aunt started coming in. The aunt that's in Philadelphia, she caught like she went through the highway, right? Because that aunt, no matter how sick my mom, she'll go right through the highway, quit work, go right through the highway from Philadelphia, hours and hours, to go and see my mom, right? Aunts came in, uncles came in, and everybody. I can't tell you the support I got, right? But you know, this is just a part of life, you know? And I have to tell you, if I had to do it all over again with my mom and everything, I would do it all over again, right? I would do it all over again, right? Because there's a reason why it happened this way. I may not understand the full reason, but it happened this way for a reason, right? Let me tell you this. Especially for you guys who are in grief, because I just heard that Naomi Judd, that woman, that country singer, she died. Man, she died. And she died around in her 70s, I believe. And the way her daughters, they just hit them. It's fresh. They're fresh off the boat with that grief. like, I know how they're feeling, but I know because she died in 70s and my mom died like in 60s. They got her much older, so they're even attached more than I am, right? Because they're like in their 60s, 50s, something like that. I know they're even more attached than I am. So when I see them and they're like, oh, we just wish you would, I know what they're feeling, right? But I think they feel it more intensely because they had the more years like to be under their mom, right? So I know that anyone who's had their mom, or anyone like your dad, whoever, a grandmother, and you were close to the person, even like a pet or something, and you were around the person, I know it affects you, right? All I have to tell you is your grief is valid. Everything you're going into is extremely valid, and everything you're going through, it is valid, right? Everything you're going through is valid, right? Now all I have to say is me being a person, I don't like to feel most emotions, especially ones I deem negative, but there's no such thing as a negative emotion, right? All emotions are valid. They show you like what's going on in your body and stuff like that. Like you just need more like ways to express them and stuff like that. I was tempted to be like, whenever I go through certain things, I just like go right through it. I just don't process it. This one, I wasn't even playing with myself. Anytime I felt hurt, I let myself feel hurt. Anytime I need to cry, I cried it out. Anytime I felt pain, I let myself feel the pain, right? Because that's my mom, right? Like, and I'm attached to her at the hip, right? Like, I know my aunts, they're attached because they've had my mom, imagine, for 60+ years. And I know that pain runs deep, right? And me, it runs deep for my sister, because my sister's like, she's like my mom's advocate, right, man? And me, we be doing our little scuffle, but I'm like attached at the hip with my mom, because I'm always under her thumb. I'm always at home with her. She's telling me the stories, and I'm just telling her how much of an idiot she is for telling me these crazy stories and stuff like that. So when I tell you, like, her, just having her around me all the time, that how that affected me, I cannot tell you how that affected me, right? So all I have to tell you is, even you guys that have people that lost a person, everyone deals with grief differently, right? Some people, they're very expressive, they cry a lot, which is very good, you know, that's great. I know some people, they get clinically depressed. That's just how some people go through alcohol. But I would advise that you try to find like more like outlets that is more like healthy, right? Like a form of expression where it's not destructive, right? Like maybe you could do something like find a way to utilize your grief that's gonna help you, comfort you, rather than just be destructive, like going through excessive drug use, alcohol use, something like that, right? So then you guys, what I have to say is, everything you're going through, right? Even if it's like a puppy you lost. I know some people, they're dog moms and they lost a puppy, and that can hit them as if it was like a real child, right? And at first, when I was growing up, I'd be like, well, stop doing a game. Like, what these white people, these foreign people, these Americans, how could a dog be like that, right? But no, some people have dogs. That dog is like their family, right? That dog is like their family. That dog, the dog saved them. The dog is like a child to them, right? So anything you feel, like when you feel grief and stuff, no, your emotion is extremely valid. I can't tell you how valid your feelings are, right? So anything you feel, whether it's grief, you feel pain, you have tears, you have anger, there's both spectrums of everything, right? Even when you're joking too, that's a form of coping mechanism too, right? Like when you're doing excess cleaning, that's a coping mechanism. They're all coping mechanisms, right? So then that's basically what I want to say up towards that end, right? And I'm gonna go into the next topic, because I do want to make this more session. I want to make it extended, right? Because the thing is, I haven't been able to be here for a while, and I just want to make sure I just keep talking to you guys, right? But number one, I was feeling confused the whole past 3 days, but then I don't know, now that I was able to pinpoint what it was that was getting on my nerves, why I was so bothered, it gave me a lot of hope and relief, and it made me feel a lot better, right? Because yesterday I'm doing the video and I don't know, it just usually doesn't hit me like that. I don't even know the words to say the video, and I don't understand why it's taking me so long to complete the video. And then once I realized it was made to, it hit me why, right? Because of my mom's, everything is coming in succession, and that's what's hitting me. It's hitting me, and I just don't understand what's going on, right? So let's go into the next topic, right? Because now I'm feeling pretty good. Right, I'm feeling good pretty good now, and I'm just gonna keep talking you guys heads off, right? So the next topic I want to get into is Titanic, right? I'm gonna get into Titanic because I was doing a live where I went to Coney Island, and because I couldn't control the elements in Coney Island, people kept singing and dancing, and they got to a point where I just had to stop the live, and I erased that portion of the live because when I'm outside I can't really control what's going on. Like, I should have known better, but usually when it's like festivals like that, or it gets really hard to control what actually is going on. It's like the sun was hot, and then the sun wasn't hot, but the sun, it blinded me for a while. I couldn't see, if you guys could see me. And then I went into the shade, and like the sun, my eyes was kind of off, and then it took me a long time to get into my center, and then I couldn't control anything that was going on, right? So let's go into get into Titanic and everything I was saying in that second portion of the live that I did not get to save onto my video, right? So then in that live I went into Titanic and stuff, right? And I'm gonna go to everything that I did in that live because I really like everything that I was saying in that live. It's just I couldn't save it because, you know, everything was going on all at once, and I just couldn't save it for my life. It was just too chaotic for me to save it. So then Titanic, and I was saying this, how when you're in certain relationships, like especially your younger self versus your 20s and your 30s, what's actually going on is when you get into your 30s, the things that you wanted when you were in your 20s is a lot different, right? Like, and I was saying how in Titanic, what was really hard for me was how Jack died, right? It's how he died. It was just like, you know, I never liked how James Cameron killed off Jack, right? He killed off Jack, and I was like, man, that is a mother. Like, how could you do that? It was callous, right? So then, the thing is, they're going to that obstacle course, right? The boat is, they hit the iceberg, they're going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. He saves her, she saves him, she gets off the boat, she gets back on the boat, they get shot at, they go under the water, they get through the, and then there was a point when they're on the raft, right? Because this is the point where he's going to, like, Rose is like, she's going in and out of consciousness, right? And when she's going in and out of consciousness, it's like she's just not with it because it's cold, right? And he's all throughout the thing, he's just trying to like soothe her through it because he wants her to talk, right? Because her talking is gonna get her to not sleep, right? Because usually if it's that cold and she starts to sleep, she's gonna die in her sleep in the cold, and he doesn't want her to die, right? So he's just talking to her, and then there's a point, like hours pass, and then she realizes the person, the lifesaver, the lifeboats are coming in, and they're calling for people from a little bit away off. And then what ended up happening is she's now trying to wake him up, right? Now she's trying to wake him up, right? And this is the part I never liked. So then she's like, there's a boat, Jack. She's like, there's a boat. And I don't know what it was, but I don't know why it never registered to me that he was gonna die, right? So during that time, 1997, Titanic is the biggest blockbuster in that time to be released, and it's still the biggest blockbuster in the whole century, right? Avatar included. Like, I don't care about Avatar, right? Titanic was the best movie that ever came out, right? And then hands down, there's no competition, nothing, right? So then she's saying, Jack, there's a boat. It's like, there's a boat, Jack, there's a boat. She's shaking Jack, there's a boat, right? And I'm like, okay, why is Jack not waking up? Jack, wake up, right? She just keeps shaking Jack, and she's like, Jack, there's a boat. And I'm like, okay, Jack, you are going to wake up, right? I'm 10 years old at the time, and I don't really understand what is actually going on, why he's not waking up, right? Because in my mind, I'm like, I know they did not go through that obstacle course of hell for him not to wake up, right? So then he doesn't wake up, right? He does not wake up. And then what he ends up doing is, like, she takes his hand, his frozen hand, she kisses him, and she pushes down the water, because now she has to get herself to safety, right? She can't stay there, because if she stayed there, she's gonna die, and there's no point in what he did to save her life. All the things he did, it would have been like he did it for nothing, right? So she blows the whistle, and she gets herself to safety, right? So then, I don't know why, but before Jack dies, a toddler comes and he trips on the cord, right? When I was in my friend Christina's house, right? And during that time, everything was through pay-per-view, and you had to wait for programs to come on TV. They're not streaming like readily available anytime as you see them now, right? So then I saw it, and then it's that point where he's about to die, but I don't know if he died yet, right? So she's telling Jack come back, and I don't understand. The toddler trips, and for 6 months later, I don't know whether he makes it out or not, right? Because I don't want to spoil it for myself. So then 6 months later, I go to my church family's house, and I end up seeing the movie again in its full entirety, and it goes back to that point, and I find out that he does die, right? So then to continue, he for some reason, I don't know, it's not registering to me that he's dead, he's not coming back, right? So then she goes and she throws the heart of the ocean into the sea, and then now she goes to sleep, and I think from the sleep she dies, right? And so then the film goes into the dream sequence, right, where she sees Jack. She sees Jack, and then they kiss, and the film ends, right? For a long time, I never understood why James Cameron did that, right? I was pissed off, right? I was pissed off, because I was like, man, like, this is, why would you kill Jack? He went to, like, I can't tell you how much anguish I went. Like, they just kept going. He got like locked with the handcuff. She saved him. They were underwater. He saved her. She went off the boat. She jumped back in the boat. They got shot at, and then he died, right? And there was like for a long time, and like even up until now, like when I'm watching that film, there's a point like everything's going well, and then the things start to, the turning point where the iceberg, I can't get past a certain point because I know he's going to die, right? And I told you, like, there was one point my grandmother, when she was alive, she was watching it, and my grandmother's tough as a bucket of rocks, right? That woman is a tough woman, right? So she's seeing this whole, and I didn't know she was paying attention to what was going on, because she was just like eating her soup and stuff, right? And with her grandma, like her little scarf, her mushwa and stuff. And then she's just like saying, okay, is he gonna make it back? And then, because this is the point where Rose keeps nudging him, and I'm like, no, grandma, he dies, right? My grandmother's like, what? Like, I could physically see it hit her in the heart, right? Because it was like, I didn't know she was paying attention like I was, right? But she just kept seeing how they're going up and down the boat. He's saving her, she's saving him, they're running, they're going down. And then when James Cameron sacrificed him, I was like, it hurt me, right? It's like one of those movies, like, you know it's a movie, right? But it just hits your sentiment, right? So I think a lot of people feel that way about the movie like movies in general, and especially well done movies, right? So then another thing I want to get into is another thing I want to get into is Pride and Prejudice, right? Because in my other video I did touch on Pride and Prejudice, but I want to talk to you guys on the relationship between Elizabeth and Jane, right? I want to go into the relationship between Elizabeth and Jane Bennet, right? So Pride and Prejudice is a novel by Jane Austen, right? Jane Austen is this English writer, and at that time women were seen as property, right? They were seen as property. So in Pride and Prejudice, Mrs. Bennet, which is like a cook, she's like kooky, right? She's kooky. She's like a kooky harebrained mom. She's like most mom, right? She's a kook, right? And she reminds me of my mom, right? And one thing I said in that live is that I don't get why Mr. Darcy was upset with Miss Bennet, right? Like, I understand why. It's like the same reason why people like, okay, Kris Jenner, she's like pimping out her daughters with the way she keeps like trying to, like, she's basically selling her daughters. She's that type of mom, right? But let me tell you, as I said in the live, this Kris Jenner is doing, I don't know what mom they see their daughter has a suitor, their daughter's gonna get something like a prize, their daughter is gonna get like her future set. That's not gonna jump at the chance to make sure her future's finances, everything is set for her, right? That is my mom 100,000,000%, right? My mom is a person like, you're gonna do something, she wanna make sure we set for life, right? That's how moms are, right? So then in the book, it has the 5 sisters, the 5 Bennet sisters. The names are Jane, the first one, she's seen as the most beautiful sister. Then there's Elizabeth, she's seen as second beautiful. And then you have Catherine, Mary, and Lydia, I believe. I'm not sure about the last 3 names, but I'm gonna go check to see if I'm correct on that, right? So then the relationship is that, I'm just gonna go between the relationship of Jane and Elizabeth for this one, and relationship like communication between like dating relationships, right? As I was saying in that live. So then what ends up happening is that in that time, women are seen as property, right? And there's a reason why I really take to that novel, right? Because all the themes I'm seeing in the novel is themes I see even now. That novel is so relevant to today, right? So I had it to reading for my CUNY Med class, in English class. I had like British literature, and when I was reading it, it's one of the few novels you're reading and you could actually sink your teeth into that novel, right? And I'm reading that novel, I'm like, man, this is actually really good, right? So anytime I've ever seen like Pride and Prejudice review on YouTube, from what I've done, because I've seen quite a few, for the most part, like, even if they could find flaws in the novel, most reviews I see, it's very positive. They really like the book, right? And all I could tell you, the reason they like the book is that it's really well done. It's like a soap opera thing, but it's like a cute, I really like how that book is done, right? So then let me go right into it with you guys, right? So then what ended up happening is that so it's women at that time, I don't know if it's the Victorian, Elizabeth, I don't know what era it is. All you know is, if you've seen that Netflix series Bridgerton, I think it's around those type of eras, right? Those proper courting phase eras, right? So in that era, Mrs. Bennet has 5 daughters that I mentioned before, and because they're property, they can't own property themselves, right? So the Bennets, they're kind of screwed, right? Because their daughters, they only have daughters, right? So they don't have a male heir to take over their property. So now it's it's given over to like a cousin or like one of the next in line to take it over, right? So now they have to ensure that all their daughters get married, right? So it's like something, I know, like for a lot of countries, even in here, women are seen as property, right? They're seen as things you own, and they don't have opinions or minds of their own, right? Even in America and New York till this present day, we all know that's how women are seen, right? No matter how much gains we made, sometimes we always have to fight to be heard, right? We know this. It's just a fact of life. We all know this, right? And this is why Pride and Prejudice and the themes that it's saying, when I'm reading it, I'm like, this novel, I could see it today, I could see it tomorrow, I could see it anytime, right? Because women, for the most part, they're seen as tools to own, tools to use, tools to marry, and stuff like that, right? So then what ends up happening is that in the book, Elizabeth loves her older sister Jane, right? Because Jane to Elizabeth, she's like the perfect older sister, right? It's like Helga and Olga from Hey Arnold, right? She's perfect, she's beautiful, she's described as the most beautiful sister in the Bennet family, and Elizabeth being the second. And the thing about Jane and Elizabeth is that she loves her sister, right? So anything where her sister is happy, she wants that for her sister. She loves Jane with her whole heart. Because in the novel, Jane's described as that sister, like if I had an older sister, she's perfect. She's like the sweetheart. She has everything going for her. She's beautiful and she's kind and she's just that sister, right? She would be like Kareena Kapoor and like Charisma Kapoor, right? She has that nature where she's loving and stuff. She's just that perfect older sister, you know? If I had one, that would be her, right? Like I would think, right? So then Elizabeth loves Jane, right? So then they're doing the thing where they're doing the courting thing, the dance, because they have to all secure husbands, right? So what ends up happening is that Mr. Bingsley, which is like this really handsome and suitor, and he's a sweetheart, just like Jane, right? He's jovial, he's kind, he's well-mannered, and it's like Jane hits the jackpot with Mr. Bingsley, right? He's rich, he's handsome, and he's got a fun-loving, kind personality. He's like grade A and Jane is grade A, right? And they're all really cool, good people, right? So then Jane and Mr. Bingsley hit it off right off the bat, right? Much to they're just so happy, right? But the thing is, Jane, like most of us women, she is playing coy, right? She's playing it like hard to, well, not hard to get, but she's not gonna be in Mr. Bingsley's face, right? Because how many girls know today, we're told this thing all the time, you can't come off as you too hot for the guy, right? You can't come off too eager, and that's what Jane is doing, right? So Mr. Darcy, she sees Jane and she thinks Jane is a trick, right? She thinks Jane is a trick, and so she tells Mr. Bingsley something that causes Mr. Bingsley to see Jane in a different light, right? So okay, then you guys, back to what I was saying. So for this session, I'm gonna give you guys an extended version, and because that live was like intercepted because of the elements, I'm gonna give you the whole topics I was doing for that live. And this will serve for this session, right? Because as I said before, I have not seen you guys in forever, and so I am gonna make up for that, right? So then I was talking about Jane and Elizabeth. So then I was saying how Jane, Elizabeth loves Jane and stuff, and Jane, and when she was going to that ball, she hit it right off the bat with Mr. Bingsley, right? And Mr. Bingsley, he's just like the male equivalent of Jane. He's this all-around great guy. He's like the best. He's a sweetheart himself, but he's like the female version of Jane, right? So it's like they get along swell, right? Like, and Mrs. Bennet is having a field day because of that, right? So then, as usual, because you know Jane is like everyone in today's society, she decides to play coy with Mr. Bingsley, right? She doesn't want to come off as too eager, right? Because you know how girls be, you can't come off, okay, you're too hot for the guy, or else you're gonna be look like you're easy. So that's what she's doing. She doesn't want to like be too much in Mr. Bingsley's space, because she want him to come to her, and she don't want to make it look like, okay, she's coming onto him too strong, right? So because of that, and because of how Mrs. Bennet is kind of a kooky woman, and that because of the two teenage daughters, the younger sisters, and how they keep cackling and like being so kind of childish in the party, Mr. Darcy says something really bad about her family, and Elizabeth doesn't like that, right? And one thing is, Jane is like, she's like the beautiful sister, and she's kind and stuff, but Elizabeth is not Jane, right? Elizabeth is hard-headed and she's strong-willed, and one thing she doesn't take kindly to is, no matter how kooky and harebrained her mom is, she's not playing with a guy coming and disrespecting her family, right? That's one thing she's not taking lying down, right? So Jane is like that. It's just like the sweetheart. She's the beautiful sister, and you know, she's just you know, that sister, that lovely sister. Elizabeth is not like that, right? She's like a spitfire, right? And when she learns what Mr. Darcy thinks about her family, when he says to her that he says something offensive about the family, right? And like, she's not playing with Mr. Darcy, right? Because that's her family, and no matter how crazy or they act kind of odd or they're kooky or whatever they come off as, she's not playing with a guy coming and disrespecting her family, right? She's just not gonna put up with that, right? So then one thing is, what doesn't help Mr. Darcy is when Elizabeth finds out, like Mr. Bingley and Jane hit it off, right? So then Jane, I think she asks Mr. Bingley, oh, when are you coming back? He says, oh, I'm going off on a trip. And the way he said it is like, she asked him, okay, when are you coming? He said, I'm not coming back, it's undetermined. And she doesn't know why he changed the way he was all for her, and then all of a sudden it's like he's indefinite on the trip that he's going. It's as if someone said something to him and it changed his whole mindset, right? So then Elizabeth found out the person that did this is Mr. Darcy, right? And the reason he did this is because he thinks the way Jane is acting, like, oh, she doesn't care about Mr. Bingsley, that she's trying to trick him into something, like she's a trick or something, right? But she's only doing it because she doesn't want to come off as like, you know, as she's like, you know, she just wants it too much, you know. Every girl knows if you like a guy, you're not supposed to look like you want him too much, you know. We've all been told that. I've been told that, right? You're not supposed to come off like you're too eager, right? Or he's gonna think that you're promiscuous or something. Everyone's been told that, right? So then when he says that, and she finds out that he had something to do with her sister not being able to get along with Mr. Bingley, Elizabeth is not playing around, right? And there's a point where Mr. Darcy, because Elizabeth, the way she acts, she's not like the women that he knows, right? When she sees that he is full of crap, she's gonna call him out on his crap, right? Especially when she thinks he's saying something that's not like he has no business saying, like when he's talking bad about her family, she's gonna put him in his place like he should, right? Like, come on, a guy comes up to you and he's gonna talk nonsense about your family. First of all, your family is your family, right? They could be stupid and you could do whatever you want towards them, but a stranger that is coming in cannot be talking about your family any type of way, right? They need to come correct, right? In that life, I told you guys, when you guys like somebody, there's some people, like the guy's mom, the girl's mom, the girl's family, that's hands off to you, right? It doesn't matter what you're seeing, unless it's like something, they're stealing something or they're doing something out of hand. That's none of your business, right? And you saying something negative about the family, you need to slow your roll, right? One thing you know you need to back off is somebody's family, right? Like, they could be the crazy people, they could be like nuts, unless they give you permission, okay, to put in your 2 cents. Even if they do that, that's something you don't want to keep doing, like it's talking bad about somebody's family, right? Because as much as the person might have problems with their family, especially guys and their mom, girls and their parents and stuff, girls and their family, you can't talk bad about their family, right? That's off limits to you, right? Like, you could offer like some opinion or advice when it's asked, but that's something you want to keep offhand. Don't like just keep talking tone about people. Like, don't do that, right? Especially when you like somebody, their family is hands off, right? So to further go on, there's a point where Mr. Darcy starts really liking Elizabeth, right? But because, you know, Elizabeth is getting she's becoming prejudiced, that he's so prideful, right? That he's just this arrogant person. He just forms opinion, and he's just like, you know how most women see guys, they're prideful. That's usually the thing that women don't like about guys, that they're coming off as too prideful. She writes him off because she's becoming to sense that he's really an arrogant guy, right? And she doesn't like how he could just say anything about her family, right? So then in Pride Prejudice, it uses the antagonistic lovers trope that I always keep talking to you guys about. And I'm gonna dovetail into Pride and Prejudice. Is like the classic British way of doing things, right? British way of doing mannerisms, right? Like, if you see British sitcoms, what I like about watching British sitcoms is like they're not like Spanish sitcoms, telenovelas, right? They're not like English sitcoms, normal American sitcoms, where they're gonna take everything, throw it at you with a kitchen sink, right? By the third episode, they already slept 3 times together. They interchange like partners. That's more American, right? They be just swapping partners like it's hotcake, right? And the drama is real. But you know, for like Spanish telenovelas, it'd be like you will have the thing, right? So then in the first 3 episodes, the woman dies. She gets cancer. She goes into like a long lost forest. She comes back. She gets amnesia. And by the time the series over, the amount of PTSD and withdrawal you get from the series, it's just too much for you, right? I mean, those telenovelas be getting real, right? So then I also said how it's like when you see those novels, it'd be like, damn, like I have a good life, right? Even if your life sucks and everything, by the time you finish seeing those things, you'll be like, oh God, thank you, you know, I guess I am lucky, right? Because those people be going through hell, and you'd be like, man, damn, how much bad luck does one person get, right? So the person gets cancer, they die, then you realize they didn't die, it was their cousin that killed them, but they didn't really kill them, they gave them a sleeping pill, and then the sleeping pill, they got cancer from the, and it'll be like, you get PTSD and you get like withdrawal symptoms for years from those telenovelas, right? And I also mentioned to you about Nollywood, but Nollywood be like, it be like malicious on a lot of ways, right? The family relationships be messed up, where it's like killing, murder is involved, poisoning. I be like, man, damn. Is it like, I know it's like, it's dramatic, it's not how they truly are, but then things be getting treacherous. I'm like, I thought my family was treacherous, right? I thought my family was trifling, but damn, it's like, it makes me feel better about myself when I look at Nollywood films, right? And telenovelas make me feel better about my whole life, right? I'm like, you know what, I guess I didn't have, my life doesn't suck after all, right? Because I didn't go through half this crap that the main character went through, right? Because some of them, they go through the thing, I'm like, my God, how much stuff does one person go through, you know? It's like they go through hell. The whole series is like, I'm like, how could somebody go through all of this within a span of a year, you know? It's like, alright, you guys, so I had to recharge my battery for a long time. That's why I had to go. So then I have just a few more topics, and I'm just gonna go. What I'm doing now as I'm looking down is I'm actually reading the topics. I want to make sure I get through all of them, and this should last for just like 30-40 more minutes, and then I'll end the session, and this will be the YouTube video that will make up for all the times I couldn't do them because, you know, of my editing program, right? So then, as I was saying, I had just said to you guys, okay, so telenovelas make me feel better about myself, right? Okay, why do they make me feel better about myself, right? And one thing I have to say about telenovelas, I don't really like what they do, is usually you don't have no translation, right? Like there was one called La Tempestad. I wanted to see that one but you can't really see any form of translation unless it's like on Netflix. They don't do translations. Like I know some languages like they do more translation than others. Like I know like when you're watching Telemundo, they don't do that much translations, right? So then what I was saying is telenovelas, like they make me feel better about myself, right? Okay, so sometimes you're watching the thing and you like the ones that they do translate. Okay, so the girl, she goes, she marries the guy, then I guess her baby gets like caught up in a fire. Then she finds out that the baby isn't dead, that the stepmother took the baby, and then the baby's being raised by the stepmother, and like, and then she has amnesia, and then she gets stolen, and then it just be on a level I'm like, man, damn. Like I feel better about my life after I look at any telenovela, because I'm like, man, these people be messed up, right? I like sometimes I'm like, I'll be like, on a day I'll be like, my God, I can't believe I'm going through this thing. And then I go see a telenovela, I'm like, okay, you know, you lucky, you know, you good. It makes me feel better about myself, you know? Like anytime I need a self-esteem boost, I'll go and watch a telenovela. I'm like, God, I'm thankful for what I already have, right? So then as I was saying, like telenovelas are show you like, because the characters, like the action in them, it be on another level, right? It's like the pawns like being moved from one way to another, like events change like within a year of the character's life, right? And then I was about to say, and then like Nollywood though, Nigerian cinema, or Ghanaian Gollywood, but Nigerian cinema, that one, it makes you feel better about the relationships in your life, right? Because Nigerian films be like treacherous, right? The treachery is real in Nigerian films, right? Like sometimes I remember there was when I was watching, it was between these two sisters, it's called Blood Sisters, right? And I told you guys that I usually watch the films from the golden era of Nollywood, the ones where it was like that era where it was like you had 2 CDs and they were like 4 to 6 to 8 hours long. Now they've changed it, they edited it, it's more like Americanized now. I haven't really got into that one, maybe I will a later time. But the golden era of Nollywood, I remember like the themes would be like treacherous, right? It'll be treacherous on another level, right? Like sometimes you look at them and you be like, you think your family is like is off and crazy. By the time you finish watching a Nollywood film, like, God, thank you for my family, you know? Because I remember there was one I was watching, and I think it was called Blood Sisters, right? And it starred Genevieve Naji and Omotola Jalade Ikende. So Omotola Jalade, she was the good sister, and Genevieve Naji was the bad one. And Genevieve Naji, she did something where she always kept trying to like hurt Omotola, right? The one I played by Omotola Jalade, right? So then in the end, something she did, I don't know, she did something, she poisoned the sister, and the sister dies, right? And then, but then the sister died, nothing was going on. But then the sister left behind 2 little children, like school-age children, and then she started abusing the little kids. So then what ended up happening is, I think the kids, she was hitting the kids, mistreating them, not feeding them. And the kids, they started praying and saying, oh God, please help us, you know. Oh, we don't have anyone to look after us. And I think when she started to abuse the kids, that's when the mom's spirit, after the kids started to pray to God, you know, please help us, you know, we're being abused. The woman's spirit, the good sister's spirit, played by Omotola, came back to life. Like she had to do retribution because the children kept crying out to God and saying, God, please help us, we need help, you know. So the spirit came back to, the spirit resurrected, and because it had unfinished business, right? So then it started, there's one point in the movie, she started haunting Genevieve Naji's character, and then in the end what ended up happening is Genevieve ends up dead because the spirit kills her, right? And it's like it was one of the most, man, that movie was treacherous, right? It was a treacherous movie, right? And some of them, it's like the relationships with the families, they'd be like conniving, right? Like you feel like by the time you finish like watching one, you're like, okay, I'm blessed to have my family, right? Even though, you know, everyone, you know, you have stuff going on in your family where it's like you're less than perfect, right? So then another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is okay, so then yeah. Okay, so then back to what I was saying about British soap operas. You know how British soap operas, the thing I like about it, right? It's like it's different, right? So, like, you know how you're watching American soap operas and it's like they swap partners every other day? British soap operas is different because it's like they're usually drinking tea and they're drinking like Bradbury pudding jam or something, and then what they're doing is like usually it's raining and something, and then the mom and the dad is like they're in the bathrobe, and then what else, they usually have that flower teapot wallpaper, and it looks like they're in Julia Child's kitchen, right? And they usually have that like British accent, you know, that posh, like that Yorkshire pudding accent, right? So then when they're talking, it's like when you pay attention to how they speak and what they pay attention to, it's like how they think is a little bit different than soap operas, the other soap operas, right? Like I remember when I was watching Hyacinth, that one Hyacinth on WLLY, I was just looking at it, right? And then it was like they were in the kitchen, and it was about the child's daughter, I believe, and it was like they were talking like they're like, Samantha, I'm making that up, Samantha, pass the tea, and it was like, how is Charles treating you, right? I think Charles is, I'm making that up, right? Because this was a long time I've seen this episode. He's like, how's Charles treating you, Samantha? And it was like, we're having this problem. It's like they have that Yorkshire pudding accent, that posh accent, right? That British accent, right? And then they're always discussing little things that I'm like, man, why are you discussing like flower settings and like the things they discuss? It's like Americans like to be real, but British people, they're like, oh, the teapots are cooking and it's raining today. How is it, my dear? The things they discuss is like, what are you talking about? It's like, it's so different, right? But it's interesting, right? So then there was one episode, and this episode was interesting, right? The daughter, she was having communication, Hyacinth's daughter in that WLNY series, she finished doing the gardening, right? And so the dad was like, he came into the kitchen, you know, it looks just like you would believe. It's raining and they're drinking tea, and the dad is reading his newspaper. And so Hyacinth's like, hello, Charles, hello, you know? And then they're talking, and then the daughter, in that episode, it was about the daughter, like, or one of the young daughters, and she had a problem with her newly married husband, right? And the whole episode, the daughter's like, I can't believe he would do this to me. Like her British accent, she was saying how he did something that was unforgivable, right? But they never say what he did, right? So then they're talking to the guy, and the guy's like, you know what? It was just a mistake, you know? It was an honest mistake. I don't know why women are like this, right? And he's like, it was something that any man could do. It was wrong, and I know what I did was wrong, right? And then the whole time, it's like she's saying, the daughter saying what he did was inexcusable. And towards the end of, like, I think this was an hour-long show, the mother's like, oh, what did he do? Did he cheat or something? And she's like, no, he didn't cheat. He's like, what did he do that was so wrong? So in the end of that episode, it's like she explained what he did, why she was not talking to him, and why they had several nights they didn't sleep in the same bed, right? So the daughter was like, he came into the bedroom from work, and when he came in, he just came and slept, right? And when in the middle of the night, there was a draft it was cold, and she asked him to put down the window so that she would not feel the draft, and she was deep in sleep. And I think he's told her, oh, I'm sorry, I'm tired, I can't do it, right? So she told him to go on the couch. She was really upset, like, and he went back to sleep. And that was the unforgivable thing that he did, right? And it was that was the whole joke of the whole show, and they were speaking in that proper accent, and it was like the mother's like, that's what he did, and she's like, yeah. And then the guy came in and he's like, and the mother's like, that's what you did, and he's like, yeah. And she has been giving me a hard time for weeks because of it, right? Because he came in for late from work, she was deep in sleep, he came in to sleep, and there was a draft and it was cold, and so she told him to go and put down the window, and he was like, I'm tired, honey, and he went to sleep, and he let her, like, the draft stay in her sleep in the cold because she was really tired too, right? And that's why they were having that whole argument, the whole because the funny thing is, the whole episode, you think he cheated, you think he did something, like maybe he did something where he committed an affair, and the whole thing is he let the draft stay because he was dead tired, and he told her, I'm going to sleep, honey. And that was the whole punchline of the film and the show, and it ended like that, right? You'd have to see it how they did it, and it was like the mother's like, that's what he did, and it's like, yeah, he's so inconsiderate, and it ends like that, right? So then back to what I say. Okay, so with this thing with dating and relationship and communication problems, I'm gonna finish with this topic, and then I'm gonna end it right here, right? Because this is what I really wanted to get into, right? So dating and relationships, as I said in that live, you have to be careful who you give your heart to, right? I told you guys previously that I don't believe even college age adults should be in a relationship, right? I don't think even 30-year-olds, if you're not in the right mindset, should be entertaining a relationship either, right? And the mistake I see most people do is when they're going into the relationship, it's like, oh, I just hope I don't fall in love, right? Oh, I'm just gonna give my heart away, right? Oh, I hope I don't fall for the wrong type, right? It's like their heart is like something, it's something that it easily falls in and out of love, and they have no control over, and they don't guard their heart for nothing, right? I have to tell you that in the Bible it says you need to guard your heart, right? Because out of it flows the issues of life, right? And the way most people, especially, I don't know, people in New York, because I mostly see how they handle relationships because I live in New York, is, oh, I hope I don't fall in love with you, right? Oh, I'm beginning to, it's like they're accidentally falling in love, right? They're accidentally liking somebody and letting themselves fall for somebody, right? They don't realize that when you don't guard your heart, right, you see somebody, you don't know if they're drunk, you don't know what type of, you're not supposed to let yourself catch feelings for them, right? There's an initial state when you're about to like someone. You could tell yourself, look, there's something in this person's character, I need to back down, right? But some people, how they approach it in the songs you hear, it's like, I hope, you know, I just don't fall for this guy, right? Like, it's like you giving your whole heart and letting somebody be able to stomp and like tear your heart out of your heart. It's like something you don't have no control over, right? It's seen in that way most of the time, right? It's addressed in that way. I think you do have full control of who you give your heart to, especially in the initial phase, right? But there's a point where you keep entertaining the same person. That's when you start, like, you can't really help it after that. You really have to be careful, right? So the one thing I said in that live, I said that one thing that people do and it's not good is hold on, let me find my thing. Okay, one thing one thing I see people do is when you're dating someone, right? Like I told you guys, I don't have that much dating experience at all, right? And that's because I really, to me, if I get married, that's great, and if I don't get married, that's even great too. I see it as each one is good, right? I don't see it each one is better. I see that whatever state I am, I'm content, right? like I'm not like dying if I like. It used to be when people would say, oh, you this age and you're not married yet, it would get to me because I'm focusing on how they're thinking, right? But then recently I'm looking at myself and I'm saying, is that who I am? Is that how I think? And when I was looking at it, I'm like, that's not how I think. That's not who I am. I don't think that way. Me, if I meet a guy, it's like, oh, that's great. If I don't meet that's great too, right? It's not bad. Either way is not bad, right? Like, I don't think like differences of ways of people living, it's bad, right? Some people, it's like if I'm not in a relationship, being single is like a disease, right? It's like you're unfortunate if you're single, you're unfortunate if you don't have a guy, even if the guy is maybe not appropriate for you, or he's not the right person. You'd rather just be with somebody than just be alone. I think that's not good, right? Because you're just filling yourself up with people, like you don't care about the quality. It's like you're just trying to fill a void, right? And you're willing to see, okay, where is this void coming from, right? Is this a fear of being alone, or is it that you really need the person, you know? And I'm not somebody that's gonna be like, oh, you need to be single, all this. I don't believe in that either, right? If you want to be in a relationship, that is just fine, right? If you want to be single, that is fine with me, you know, it's fine. But you need to understand, okay, why do I keep entertaining people? They're not good, or they don't have good intentions, or they have questionable behavior, but I keep entertaining this person because, you know, I'm afraid to be alone, you know? Because I see in American society, you know, it's like most societies, it's like being married and having kids, like it's the ultimate thing. Some people don't want to have kids, right? Some people don't want to be in a relationship, right? And I see that like, the way it is, like you get shamed if you don't want to have kids, if you don't want to be in a relationship, if you want to just enjoy your life. You're seen as selfish, you know? That's not selfish. That's just you wanted to do what's right for you, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to go to that person. You have to take care of those children. As much as your people want you to have kids so that they could say, oh, I have my niece or I have my grandchild. You don't want to be doing major life decisions based on, okay, what people think you should be doing, right? It should be on what you think you can be able to handle. What makes you happy, what makes you content, right? And it's good, like, when you're not in a relationship, no matter what state you are, to be content, right? And to do the best you can with your life, you know, to live a life that you feel is good for you, right? And that looks different for every single person, right? So then what I would say is one thing women do, it's really bad, right? When you're dating a guy, I know women do this all the time, right? And I know sometimes you see those dating coaches, they say women talk too much. I don't think that's what's the bad thing, right? Talking too much, that's normal. That's how they function. Like, most women love to talk. That's fine, right? What is bad is when they just rush into a situation and they don't let time reveal deception, right? So I'm gonna explain to you what I mean, right? In that story, Little Red Riding Hood, right? The wolf finish eating the grandmother, who Little Red Riding Hood is sent to deliver something to the grandmother, right? And then the thing is, at first, Little Red Riding Hood doesn't know there's anything wrong, because the wolf is dressed in like the grandmother, right? Or it's dressed in sheep's clothing, or like the grandmother, like in disguise, right? But how does Little Red Riding Hood know there's something wrong, right? At first she doesn't notice there's anything wrong, right? But then after a while, like, what ended up happening is the wolf is talking, and like the teeth is beginning to come out. At first it looks like it's grandma, right? But then his teeth start to come out of the disguise, right? And then there's a point where his claws start to come out too, right? But at first she doesn't notice there's anything wrong. She thinks everything is normal, right? It's the same thing in like any situation, right? Especially in dating relationship, guys or women, right? But especially for women, right? The thing that women do that's really wrong is they're dating somebody, which is, I love dating, right? Dating is good, because dating is showing you, okay, like, how does he treat people around him? How does he treat people that serve him? How does he tip? Who pays first? Does he go 50-50 if he's a provider? if he doesn't have money, how he treats the situation. Is he respectful? Like how he treats you when you can't pay. Is he telling you have to do something in order for him to pay? You see the type of person based on how the dating goes, right? But one thing you'll see is, I see this all the time, is that the woman, she just rushes right into the relationship, and then by the time she's into it, it's like it's too late because her heart is deep into it and she didn't give it time to develop, right? That's why I say you should guard your heart in this situation, right? You really should guard your heart, right? You guard your heart against like falling in love with somebody that is wrong for you, right? Let me show you what I mean. So as I told you with the example with Little Red Riding Hood, at first Little Red Riding Hood doesn't know the wolf ate her grandma, right? He doesn't know that, because at first it appears like everything is right? See, this is how time reveals deception, right? If somebody is lying to you, there's only so long they could keep lying to you, right? Because as the saying goes, when you keep like making the web, you start getting tangled, right? When you're telling the truth, you don't have to remember details, right? Because it's the truth. You could spin it up, down, it's the truth. You remember it straight because it's the truth. But when you're making lies, it's like a web, right? It's a web because you can't understand. You're making a web because you have to remember key events that didn't happen, right? Like I know some women, like their intuition be saying something's off about the guy, right? And it could be good or it could be just them overreacting, but they don't trust the intuition, right? Sometimes they'll have an intuition and the intuition says, it's not that you can't be with the guy, but you need to take precaution, right? It's not that you can't be with the guy, it's just that you need to take caution. You need to not throw caution to, you need to pay attention, right? He might not be a horrible guy, right? And that's one thing I have to go into, right? Sometimes it's not that the guy is horrible, it's that the timing is not yet good, right? Especially when you guys are coming up. It could be that he could be the right guy, but it's a yellow light. It's not a green light. It's not a red light. You just need to take caution because his ducks are not all aligned in a row, right? You need to be careful because he hasn't been situated yet, right? God hasn't dealt with him yet, right? Or it could be like, oh, God's giving you the green light. When he gives you the green light, then you could go full speed. You're good, right? But if he gives you the red light or the yellow light, you need to stop with one, proceed with caution with the other, right? Because he might be a good person, but he's just not right yet for you, right? And if it's the red light, he could be good too, but you just need, at that point, especially if he's the one for you, he's not yet in the right state yet, so you need to go back another time if God reveals to you that's the one for you, right? So then what I have to say, since this one is like I have to go back to the biblical, this is like a Bible study, like a Bible session, right? A Christian session. What I want to tell you guys is sometimes like if you're a Christian, if God tells you that's your husband, you don't even need to question it, because he's ordained that guy for you, right? He's aligned it so that it's your match in every single way, right? But it could be that because of situation he's going through, it's not yet time for him to be your husband. Or it could be that sometimes it is the right time and you could go, even if you don't him only 6 months, you're good because God has already he has already aligned it so that that's your match in every way, right? So what you would do is you'd have to go to God in prayer, right? And he will reveal to you, okay, who is your true match, right? And remember, God is a God, like he's a God, there's nothing impossible to him, right? I see women, they're like, oh, I'm too fat, I'm too tall, I'm too this. I've seen some really chubby women and they have guys, and the guys is like, they're feeding for them. Some guys take to chubby women, right? Some guys, they take to people that is women that is much taller. Like there's billions of people in this world, right? I'm sure you're gonna find your perfect match and he's gonna be the right guy for you. You're not gonna settle for like any guy. He's gonna be the great match for you in every way, and he's gonna be really attractive even if you think you're too chubby, you're obese. Because I know some guys and their catches, right, they gravitate towards women that's bigger. That's just what they like. And I've seen some guys, they look like GQ models. They like women that is really old, like that's just what they like, right? Not everybody like the same thing, right? So don't think, oh, I'm overweight, or, and especially if you like your weight, you're like, oh, I have to be a certain size. That's not true. Everybody doesn't like the same thing. I know for me, like, I know some people, they gravitate towards a certain type of guy. I have a preference in certain areas. Like, I know some women, they don't like dark-skinned men. I really like dark-skinned men, right? I like other men too, but that's something I really like, right? I like white men. I like other races too, but it's like, I like dark-skinned men, right? Especially the ones that they're really cute. Like, I like that type of man, right? Like, I know some people, they don't really like that, right? And some dark-skinned men are like, oh, I have no chance. That's not true. You could be overweight. You could be like something like, oh, I'm not attractive in your eyes. And somebody would literally would kill to have you, right? So don't be like, oh, I'm this, I have a crooked, like, you have something you don't like and you seeing it through your eyes and you're like, oh, he's not gonna like me either. I've seen some guys and the way they like the girl, to me, I'm like, okay, she's like obese and stuff. And then he's like, he's like literally worshiping the ground she walks on because he likes that type of girl. Or some men, they like a cougar, like really, really mature, older, 60-year-old women. And he's like 1/3. Some guys really like that, right? Some guys really like women, they have curly hair. Some people like hair. Like, there's somebody for everybody, right? Don't just rule yourself out. And the guy that likes you, I've seen catches, and the women that they like, to me, I'm like, okay, I don't really see how a guy that young could go for a woman that's like 4 times, and he's in love with the girl, right? He's in love with her, right? So don't be like, oh, I'm this and it's over for me. Especially if you're someone, you're in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and you are going back into the dating market. The whole thing, it's a mindset, right? Don't be like, oh, I'm not, no, guys. If you think you're not worth it, you already lost, right? If you think you're not, the game is already done, right? You only as attractive as you think you are, right? It's all of your perception, right? Like, don't tell yourself, oh, I'm 70. No, guys, that's not true. I've seen some women, they get wine and dine, and the guy is practically killing to get the girl because of how she sees herself, right? So don't be like, oh, I'm obese or something, or this, and no, guy, that's not true. There's somebody for everybody. And when I'm saying there's somebody for everybody, I don't mean like you're settling for a guy. He is gonna be the guy that you want him to be, but you have to be able to see and conceive that, right? But if you always say, oh, I'm never gonna get the guy, it's gonna be like that. You're gonna do a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It happened to me all the time, right? Because to me, I've seen some women, they are so attractive and they never could get with nobody, and they have somebody, like somebody, their friend, they're less attractive, they get somebody that they really like, and it's because the girl is like, oh, guys never like me because, you know, I'm intimidating, or I have a college degree, or whatever story you keep telling yourself is what you're gonna see happen, right? Because you keep ruling yourself out, people's gonna weed you out too, right? Because, you know, there's a way you say certain things to yourself, you start acting out in a way that makes you, people them see that, okay, people don't really gravitate to it because that's what you keep playing, and you're giving off that energy that, okay, I'm not approachable, because you keep saying that in your recording in your mind, right? So be careful what you keep saying to yourself, especially concerning how people gravitate towards you, right? You see, it's not what you're going through that's making that happen, but it's what you keep telling yourself about what you're going through, or if you know, or whatever you think is going on that's causing you not to be able to attract your ideal person, right? So one thing is, okay, communication is key, right? Communication is key. Communication is key, right? You guys really want to talk to each other, right? That's key. And finally, I'm gonna end the video very soon. Is, oh yeah, this is good. This is the last thing I'm gonna say is, pay attention to red flags, right? One red flag I would say you need to pay attention to is if the guy is secretive over his phone, right? It's like he's like a CIA operative with the phone, right? And if you touch the phone, it's like he's about to do a Power Ranger move on you, right? Or he's about to karate chop you the phone out of your hands, right? He's like a ninja, right? He's like a mutant ninja once you touch his phone, right? He doesn't want you to see what's on the phone. Well, I'm not a person that believes in like violating somebody's privacy. If I ask somebody that I'm dating, okay, can I see what's on the phone? I don't know if I don't see the problem in, okay, him handing it over to me or him showing me all the texts freely and willingly, right? But if the guy is managing his phone like he's part of the CIA, or if there's like FBI relations going on with the phone, you really need to pay attention to that, right? Don't even play with that, right? Because most likely the reason why he's secretive over the phone is very it's the reason that there's something going on there. The guy is a player, and you really need to be careful, right? Because sometimes you'll see a guy and your intuition will be like he's a player, and you don't even see his whole aura will say player, and you don't know why, but your intuition is right? Don't knock your intuition, right? Because your intuition, I'd say sometimes it's you being afraid, but most time your intuition is dead on. And sometimes you don't even know why it's picking up on something you're not consciously picking up on, but it's picking on something that's not right. Pay attention to it, right? And the last thing I want to tell you guys is, yeah, and the last thing is the power, time is a revealer of deception, right? Please give it time, right? Don't rush to anything, right? You're only in your 40s, you're only in your 30s, you're only in your 50s, right? Some people, it's like, my clock is ticking. Freeze your eggs, right? Some people like, my clock is ticking, and that's why they're rushing into a situation, into a lifelong situation, headlong, right? There's certain things you don't want to like rush, right? You don't want to rush the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with based on like something like you need to rush. Don't do that, right? And with the time revealing of deception is, as the guy keeps talking, if he's a liar, you're gonna see it, right? Because you can only lie for so long, right? Until you start seeing there's inconsistencies in what he's saying, but you have to let the teeth, what you gonna call it, the fangs start to come out, the lies, right? Or the claws, or the pockets of fur to come out, right? You'll see that it's a wolf very soon, right? But you have to let the outfit that he's wearing, the grandma costume that he's wearing, the sheep, be able to come out. You need to, ou besoin pour griffe là commencer paraître, right? The fangs to, you want the pot the claws to start coming out, right? And how does that come out? It comes out when you give it time, right? Because, you know, when he's making that web of lies, he's gonna get caught in his nonsense, right? One day you're gonna be like, didn't you say your mom was dead? He'll slip, right? And how he slip is you give him time to slip, right? Because you're gonna catch him in a lie if he's lying about something, right? And when you address it, it's like he's gonna try to like gaslight you, right? You're gonna see things going on, but you need to give it time, right? That's a huge mistake people make, is when they don't give certain things time to develop, right? So then that's basically it. I'm really glad I had this session with you guys. And I'm so glad I did have it with you guys, right? And so finally, the last thing I want to say is, since this is my Christian Bible session, is that there is nothing that if you put it in the hands of God that he cannot do for you, that he cannot accomplish for you, right? I know a lot of you guys, especially young women, young men, you're going into the dating phase of your life, or you want to get married, or you want to have children, right? But all I want to tell you guys is there's nothing that's impossible to God, right? And I don't care what you look like, right? A lot of women, they'll be like, oh, I'm obese. I know some men, they gravitate towards obese women, right? That's just what they like. They like chubby chases, right? And I know some people that in midlife, they're like, oh, it's over for me, right? It's over for you if you say it's over for you, right? it's only over if you say it's over, right? You're done if you say it's done, right? Your life is over if you keep saying that, right? You keep telling it it's over, right? But I don't know. I think you need to trust the process, right? And I think you need to know your worth, right? And one thing, final thing, I keep saying final thing, is when I get in my 30s, I didn't know I was gonna do this, right? There's a point when I got in my 30s, all I kept doing is idealizing when I was 20s, the early 20s, middle 20s, in my 20s, right? I see that's something that is constantly being done unsubconsciously by our cultures, right? They idealize when they were young, right? But if you look at me, sometimes some people say I look like I'm 12, right? I definitely have all my oysters. The world is my oyster right now, right? And the reason why I keep referring to when I was in my 20s, when I was young, at least like when I'm thinking, I'm always thinking about my college days when I was younger, or when I was doing this. It's like something I picked up, right? You could be like 30s and you look great, or your 40s you look awesome. You still think about, oh, my college days was what? No. Yes, those were the days, but your life is ahead of you, right? You're moving forward, right? Your best days is ahead of you, not to the behind, right? So you could look at and reminisce about those college days, but the adventures are in front of you, right? The trips are in front of you. The cabin trips, your friendships, if that's what you want. The romantic relationship that you've been craving, it's ahead of you, right? So don't be like, oh, those days are gone. It's only gone if you thinking it's gone, right? The perspective is in your head, right? And I was guilty of doing that, and I have to correct myself, right? I am in my 30s, my early 30s, 33. And my life is just beginning, right? And I'm here to tell you, I'm here. My YouTube channel is here to show you. It's so here to dispel every myth that tells you, oh, being single, it's like it's a disease. Being married, it's everything is cracked up to be, or if it's not cracked up to be, right? I'm here to tell you that being somebody that has a unique lifestyle where like anywhere you are, I'm here to tell you, you need to be content in who you are and what you're doing, right? All I have to say is contentment is what you feel, right? It's not necessarily the life situation. You could hit rock bottom and still be thankful and still at peace, right? That's happened to me all the time, right? And you could be on the mountaintop and then you're not at peace, right? Or vice versa, right? So your contentment, I think that's the ultimate goal, right? Not money, not like a constant ecstatic state where you're trying to catch a thrill. Is even when things are opposing, like my mom is dead, I have this YouTube channel which I love, I'm not having the career I want yet, I'm getting more opportunities. It's like things are going in, like they're just against each other, working. Your life is not static, it's dynamic, right? You have a lot of things that's good and a lot of things that is going down and going up. While things are coming up, other things are coming down, right? I don't want you to think and focus on the thing that is wrong, right? Or to get into that victim mode, as I have done in a lot of my early 20s, right? I was in victim mode, right? And I can't blame myself. I had to go through it in order to see the other side. But all I want to tell you is, no matter where you're at, victim mode, not victim mode, you're succeeding. I want to tell you, no matter what state you are, you need to try your best to be content, right? Because happiness is when you're content, right? Because as long as you live, there's always going to be something that's good, something that's bad, something that's opposing, right? And something good happening, it could actually not be to your advantage. And sometimes when bad things have happened to me, sometimes when I looked at it back, I was like, man, that is horrible, right? I see that's what propelled me into who I am today, right? So sometimes good is good, sometimes good is not what it's cracked up to be. Sometimes bad, it could be bad, but usually bad or bad things is usually being used in a good way for you, right? And I've seen that happen to me a million times over, right? Especially when I was like, man, I don't understand, like I'm not like things are not working out. And then when I look at it back, I'm like, because things not working out, it caused me to have this opportunity open, right? Sometimes when the door is permanently shut in your face, you're thinking, oh my God, you're trying to get it to open, and you don't realize that if 100 other doors is beginning to open. And while you're in that pruning season where it's like things seem like it's not working, that's when you get the most growth, right? So sometimes when things go bad, you're thinking, oh, this is horrible. It's not a bad thing, right? There is nothing that's bad that's actually a bad thing, right? There's nothing that's bad you go through. It's not gonna like be every lesson you learn, even though it took you 100 years to learn it, or you learned a lesson and it was a harsh one, it's gonna propel you into the future, and it's gonna show you something. It's gonna help you later on. Trust me on this, right? Even when I didn't believe that was so, it turned out to be so in a lot of ways, right? So then finally, the last thing I want to tell you guys is, that's the main reason why I did this Christian session. And what I was trying to do is I was trying to make it as lax as possible, because I want Christianity to be accessible to people, and I want to do topics that is Christian and not Christian in my Christian sessions too, because I feel like I want you guys to understand that Christianity is a lifestyle. It's not like a religion where it's like we do a bunch of these practices and then we're apart and we exclude people. Christianity is actually a very inclusive religion, and that's one thing I really love about it. It's like it's very inclusive when it's done the right way, and it's a religion that it has a lot of things where you do precepts, but it's meant to be loving and not like harsh and beating people with the Bible. I don't believe in stuff like excluding people and making people feel like, oh, I'm better than you because I'm Christian. It's not like that, right? I don't like beating people over the head with the Bible. I don't like that at all, right? So then the final thing I want to say is, I'm going to do the Lord's Prayer with you guys, because that's the ultimate thing I want to do. We're actually entering into very difficult times right now, as Russia has entered into Ukraine, and there's practically a world war that's going on, you know. Things are going down. We've been through a pandemic. So then I'd just like to get you guys to read this Lord's Prayer with me. And what this Lord's Prayer is, you're accepting Jesus Christ into your life. It's a 2-sentence prayer, very quick, and I would really love it if you would do this prayer with me, because that's the whole purpose of me doing this whole drawn out video. That's my whole purpose for the whole YouTube channel, when I look at it in a nutshell, is to bring more people to Christ, and to see that the Christian lifestyle is a lifestyle that's meant to bring other people in. It's inclusive, and it's not something that's gonna be like, okay, I'm better than you because I'm Christian. It's not like that. I don't ever like doing stuff like that where I'm making people feel like they're excluded because they're not Christian. I don't like doing stuff like that, right? I entertain almost every type of thing because I know everything. It helps you to understand who God is, right? So then the prayer goes like this. You say, Lord Jesus, I believe that you died on the cross for me. I also believe that you rose again on the 3rd day, and that when I die, I accept you as my Lord and Savior, and I will be go to heaven in paradise with you. And that's basically it. 3 sentences, right? To get the official prayer, you go to any like Google the whole prayer. It's 4 sentences long, right? Very quick. That's all you need to do. And as you read that, you do that declaration with me, you'll see many benefits begin to happen in your life. And that's all I need you guys to do. That ensures that when you die, you are with God and Jesus in the next life. And as I do that, just that sentence is my work is done. And I'm gonna pray for you so that God will begin to work in your life to just draw you closer to Him, so that you can have an official relationship with Him, right? So my work here is done with that prayer, and I will pray for you guys so that God will begin to work in your lives, right? So then, you guys, that's my video for today. I really hope you had a lovely day today. That's basically it. I started out talking about my mom, and it was hard for me today, right? Because I really didn't understand why I was feeling like upset about everything. But then I realized, you know, her death really bothered me, and it made me feel a lot better when I realized that that's what was going on, right? Because I kept seeing the flowers and people just saying it's Mother's Day, and it didn't register to me at all, right? And then I realized that's what was bothering me this whole week. And I'm so glad that I spoke to you on this, and I recognize that's what it was, right? So then, you guys have a great day. My name is Jocelinesse Jeune. Have a great day, you guys. Thanks. Okay, so you guys, on this bonus segment, I would like to say that I am trying to do a Patreon account, but you know it's gonna take a little bit of time because I'm trying to set it up. You know, YouTube's my main love and stuff like that, right? So the thing is, the Patreon, the YouTube will always get everything jam-packed. It's like the main thing, but Patreon will get extra and behind the scenes stuff. And I'll try to give you guys bonuses, right? But basically, YouTube is everything to me. So then Patreon will get all the extras, behind the scenes, my outfits, extra opinions, live. Maybe I'll watch a movie with you guys. I don't really know what I'm going to do yet, right? So I have to think about it, right? To think about how I'm going to use it, right? For what purposes, right? I know it's going to be more video and talking to you guys. So then I'm just setting that up right now, you know. That's what I will be doing. And you know, I hope like everything goes well. I know I'm gonna plan it out. I'm gonna try my best to do my best with that account, you know, because this is the first time I've ever had a Patreon account, and I'm really excited about it, right? So then that's basically it, and I hope you guys have a great day, right? Have a great day. So then you guys, for this bonus segment, because my camera is still working, it still has battery power, so then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go into this movie review of this film, right? The film is called Papam Jalou, right? Papam Jalou. Papam Jalou is a lot like I Love You and, but Papam Jalou is crazy on another level, right? It is nuts. Okay, so Papam Jalou was one I watched. Well, my cousins gave it to my female cousins. They introduced me to that DVD. So it stars Tonton Desirab, right? Tonton Desirab is like those comedians. He's like Jesse Foy and Anguish. Anguish is like the one I told you from, the one with that Romeo thing. So then Tonton Desirab, in it, he has a daughter in the film, right? The daughter's name is Marie, Ange Marie, right? So the Vierge Marie, yeah. So in the film, it's a crazy film, right? That film is nuts on another level, right? So the dad is attached, as in most films, right? And he has a machete to match, right? He's nuts, right? And the thing is nuts about is he doesn't want his daughter to ever get married. He wants her to basically stay like his daughter, like a virgin for her whole life, right? Like if she ever never marries, she'll be fine, right? Remember in I Love You and Tonton Bisha, the father, he only wanted her to marry at a respectable age, right? Tonton Desirab is different because he doesn't want the girl to marry at all, right? He wants her to stay a virgin and pure, right? You know how those dads are, right? So then he calls her name in the film is Vierge Marie, right? So her name's really Marie, but he calls her Virgin Mary. Like Mary, her name's Mary, but he calls her Virgin Mary, hence the name Vierge Marie, right? So the whole time, to him, he doesn't want to even hear that she could have a boyfriend, right? Which she does. And the boyfriend is played by Kenny Discernment. He's like part of the group Zengland, I think. And he's a very popular like musician, Kenny Discernment. I don't his name is hard to pronounce, right? So the guy, he comes in, right? And the whole scene is like he wants the daughter to be his baby forever, and he keeps calling her Virgin Mary, Virgin Mary, right? And it's the most craziest film you've ever seen, right? So then if you get offended really quickly, you should not be watching this film, right? Because there's this guy, and it's like it's set in the woods, right? And it's in Haiti, it's in the woods. I don't know where it is precisely, but this is like in the woods, right? And it's like this little colorful house, and he basically locks her in the house so that no guy could come to her, right? So then on one of the scenes, and they have this gay guy, his name is Geraldine, right? The guy's name is Geraldine, and he's like, he sells plantains, fried plantains, fritai, which is fried plantains. And he's like, oh, twilly zit, I have these plantains, I'm gonna, and he does a whole movement, and this movie is nuts, right? It's a crazy movie, but it's funny, right? But the whole thing is, like most of those Haitian films, they doesn't have subtitles, so maybe I'd have to get them to put it on if I ever did, where I put it on for educational purposes. And the thing that happened is, like, he's married to Virgin Mary's mom. Is he married to her mom? No, I think her mom, they're not married, but then he has a wife. He has a wife out of marriage, and it's the most funniest movie I've ever seen, right? So then the whole thing is how parents don't trust their daughters. They want their daughters to stay children for the rest of their life, and then he doesn't even want to hear that she would have a boyfriend, right? But then for some reason the boyfriend comes into the woods. He goes in to visit her, right? His name is Kenny, and he's part of this huge band. He's very popular, called Zingler, right? So then Kenny comes into the woods, and the funny part is when he goes in and they're talking, and the dad says, "Who is this?" He catches what she's doing. He's like, "Who is this?" And he's like, "Oh, this is my friend," right? So he's like, "This is your friend?" So he takes out the machete, right? And he starts sharpening the machete, and he's like, "Okay, you guys are gonna talk, right?" And he's like, "Okay, just give us a few moments to talk, right?" So then they begin to talk, and he's just right there smoking his tobacco pipe, and he's like, "Talk." So he's like, 1, 2, 3. Okay, you guys have finished talking. He takes Virgin Mary, Vierge Marie. He puts her and throws her into the house, the colorful house in the woods, in the middle of the woods, and he locks it. And he's like, "You guys are finished talking, right?" Because he just doesn't want to hear that she could actually have a boyfriend, right? And the whole film ends in tragedy, but it's like a comedy, right? And the whole film, the film is so funny, but it's like the film is nuts, right? In the end, like, he keeps running after the guy with the machete, right? He's like, "You're not touching my daughter." And in the end, it does have a, like, kind of a tragic ending. But it is so funny how it ends. It's like, even that is funny, right? So then the film is called Papa Jalou. I will do a full synopsis just because it's been a while since I've seen that film, right? So I will do a full synopsis just for you guys. And that film is just, it's nuts, right? It's crazy as hell. And I would do, like, maybe if I could, I do have the film on hand. It's a very popular film. It's not like the Longly Shot one where you can't see it because it's like old, and it's usually classic television, and it's on VHS and you have to get it converted. This one is very readily accessible, and I do have it on hand, right? The only thing is I would actually have to translate it thoroughly and then do it for educational purposes in order to get it licensed through, right? So then that would take a while, like a few months time, but I would definitely do a full synopsis of that, and then I would introduce you guys to that, right? So that's my video for today, you guys. This is the extra bonus clip. And the bonus clip is Papa Jalou, right? I hope to do a full synopsis just for you guys upcoming, right? So have a great night, you guys. Have a great one. Thanks. Again, my name is Jocelinesse Jeune.